Thank you. Appreciate it.
Oh, water. Okay, it's 6:18. I'd like to call this meeting of the Belton Independent School District Board of Trustees to order. Quorum of board members is present. Certainly glad to have you put board back in person as opposed to a Zoom call. This meeting has been duly called and a notice of the meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Chapter 551. At this time, I'm going to ask you all to rise with me for a moment of silent prayer and meditation, after which we'll actually remain standing for the rest of the meeting. Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
They moved it.
Please join me for Texas. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Thank you all for joining us.
They moved it, man.
The very, very, very first thing we need to do, and so happy to do it, is to administer oath of office to our newly appointed trustee for Area 2, Ms. Erin Beck. Ms. Connie, you'll get us started.
Erin, if you would raise your right hand and repeat after me. Where I say my name, please state yours. I, Connie Burns,
I, Erin Bass,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear,
that I will faithfully execute the duties
will solemnly swear to execute the duties
of the office of School Board Trustee
of the office of School Board Trustee
for the Belton Independent School District
for the Belton Independent School District
of the State of Texas,
of the State of Texas,
and will, to the best of my ability,
and will, to the best of my ability,
preserve, protect, and defend
preserve, protect, and defend
the Constitution and laws
the Constitution and laws
of the United States
of the United States
and of this state,
and of this state,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations. You may take your seat.
Awesome. So, Miss Erin, would you invite your family down and introduce your family? And let me see if I get names right. There's Brooklyn, Addison, Ethan, and Kaysen.
Yes, Payson is not here.
Oh, Kaysen's not here. And Andy's husband. All righty then. Don't forget Andy.
I do consider him one of the kids.
Oh.
So this is an opportunity to take some photos. We're going to take some quick photos, and then we'll have Miss Erin share a few words with us. Welcome. We're so glad. Thank you for allowing her to serve with us.
Yes.
We're excited. Awesome.
Well, I'm very grateful to serve alongside each of you. I'm really grateful for this opportunity. And I'm super eager to learn from, serve, support Belton ISD families and everybody involved. And I'm certainly thankful for my family. My 9-year-old told me on the way home from school today, he said, "Mama, I'm really proud of you." And I got a kiss on the cheek.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you. I need to turn away so I'm not in the background of the photo.
You're not peering over there.
I know, right? I'm over photobombing you. Please have a seat. Do we have our name plate and all of that good stuff? It wasn't ready yet. For anyone who has not realized, this is Mrs. Erin Bass. She's a new board member. Thank you so much. That's awesome.
Yeah,
Your
welcome to
whole
the bottom
name.
row.
Well, as quick as that may have seemed, you all have to know that, losing Dr. Montgomery was hard on us, but we are a team, if that's not evidenced by everything that has taken place in our past history. We are a team that we pick up and we move as a team. And it's because of the great collective work of this team that we have another wonderful member that is going to represent this community. So we are super excited for Ms. Erin Bass and the things that she's going to bring to this team. Now, off with the sappy stuff. I'll move on over to our next item, which is public comments. Do we have anyone signed up? Mrs. Burns? No. All righty, then we'll just proceed on with recognitions.
Ms. Elizabeth Cox is here tonight to get us kicked off.
Awesome.
Good evening, trustees. Welcome aboard, Trustee Bass. We're glad to have you. First up tonight, I get to recognize that incredible performance that you all got to experience during our brief intermission. Student showcase tonight is Belton High School Theater. The Belton High School Fine Arts programs, under the leadership and direction of Theater Director Melissa Stuff and Choir Director Tanya Lavorne, will entertain audiences in February with their production of Freaky Friday. Tonight's showcase of the song called Oh Biology featured students Annie Bailey, Megan Sloan, Ashley Reyes, Jordan Pilgrim, Maddie Clark, Jackson Reasoner, Zeke Payne, Maverick Shepard, and Eden Iram. And a special thanks to Mrs. Lavorne for being here with us tonight. Thank y'all. Full performances of Freaky Friday are set for February 5th through 6th at 7 p.m. and February 7th at 2 p.m. And we'll get information out on our social media and the website of where you can purchase tickets.
Thank you. Eager to go and watch you all perform. This was great. Thanks a lot.
Bring your mask and enjoy the show.
Wear the mask and enjoy the show. Awesome. Thank you.
Next up, I'm going to invite Dr. Matt Smith down.
I think I'm going to throw a wrench and sit right here for a minute while I do this, and then I'll come on down in just a second. So for those of you that don't know, it is School Board Appreciation Month in the month of January in the state of Texas. And I thought it would be fitting tonight to bring some, since we have a new trustee who's just been sworn in, to talk about the myths of being a board member and then maybe some realities of being a board member. So since she's already taken the oath, I feel comfortable doing this. A myth of being a school board trustee is, and I think everybody's heard it, it's easy work. Another myth, they get paid. Another myth is that it's always driven by a personal agenda. And finally, the last myth is that meetings never go past 3 hours.
False.
But the truths about being a Belton Independent School Board member and a trustee in this district are far from that. First of all, it is nonstop. The work that these trustees that are in front of you put forth on a daily basis, a weekly basis, a monthly basis, it really can't be quantified. Why? Because they see the community members out and about. They hear from the community members about what they want their schools to be like. They work constantly with the administration on doing the business of governing a school district, and it really doesn't stop. The second thing is, these are big decisions. Sometimes people say, oh, it's easy. I can guarantee you that when we talk about the decisions that this school board is faced with, that in all of those decisions, they don't take them lightly. They put students first in the decisions that they make, and they focus on the care and the well-being of every staff member in the school district too. And finally, the last thing I want to share about this school board that is so unique is I have been here for a year, and I can proudly say that every decision that I have seen this board make is about what's best for kids. And I think you heard that in the belief statements and the values that they espoused earlier tonight. I am so proud of this board beyond belief. I work for this board, but I can tell you that this board is the most special board that I have ever seen in any state that I've served as an administrator. And I share that with you all because I don't think that everyone knows what we truly have in Belton ISD. And in Belton ISD, it starts at the top. And they've said this about me, and I need you all to know this about our board. It starts at the top from the elected officials that you see in front of you tonight. Over the last year, I have seen this board act with honesty, integrity, dedication, and a focus on students, all the while showing empathy and exhibiting trust. If you think about it, this pandemic, inviting a new superintendent here and having me run my first board meeting as we were shutting schools down in the pandemic required more of this board than you could ever imagine. So tonight, I want to thank you publicly for all the support you've given me, but most importantly, all the support that you've given our students in this school district, because without your leadership, we would not have been in such a positive place in managing this pandemic as well. So join me in giving our board a round of applause, please. And I have to give our communications team credit, because we thought, what is the best way to actually recognize our trustees? Well, you see a bunch of gifts in front of you tonight. You see some mementos. You see posters on the wall, and it's all about kids. So tonight, we're going to have our students actually kick off your recognition. So students, come on up.
Be You by Peter H. Reynolds. You were born to be so many things. My wish for you, no matter where your journey leads, is for you to always be you. Be ready to take that next step towards being an amazing human being.
Be curious. Turn every stone, ask every why, and keep digging deeply. Discover your own answers. Be adventurous. Live a big life. When you are ready, step outside your comfort zone. Bravely explore new paths and see where they lead you.
Be connected. Find kindred spirits. Be with those who make you feel like the real you. Be persistent. Keep going, never stop. Keep going, never stop. Keep going, never stop.
Be different. Be silly, be quirky, be odd. Be unique, be weird, be colorful. Be okay with being different. Be just the way you are. Be kind, be understanding. Help those around you to be themselves. Listen, then listen some more. Learn more about who they are.
Be brave. Try new things. Take a deep breath and plunge forward into new experiences. It gets easier every time you try. Be your own thinker. Think for yourself and set your own unique course. And it isn't always easy, but you'll be heading in the direction of you.
Be okay being alone. Take time to be on your own. Hear your own thoughts, your inner voice. Listen to your heart. Be patient. Being more you takes time. Take a deep breath, relax. Let your future unfold at its own pace. It will be worth the wait.
Be okay for reaching out for help. When you need a helping hand, a compassionate ear, an encouraging word, reach out. As you voyage into the world, remember, no matter what, you will always be loved. You are ready, so go ahead. Be you. Be very, very you.
Wow. So, Elizabeth, before you get started, it's rare that I find myself almost speechless. I love what you all just did. That spoke volumes to my heart. That book is amazing. That book sounded like a playbook for my life. I felt like you all, it's very much like when you read your Bible. When you get it, it's for you. I got it. And so that was simply amazing. All the things that you all can see, these books and these gifts that were given to us, you know, these are wonderful, wonderful things. And I personally thank all the students and the teachers that made that possible. I also want to thank those students that tell you all about things you don't know about. And Janet and I were speaking about this earlier. We got 100 or more emails this last week thanking us for the things that we do. That means so much. It is very personal. Some of those emails that I got were simple thank yous, and that's nice. But some of them had some real meat to them. Some of them wanted to know about, and I'm just going to read a couple of them. I digress. I know we're in the middle of something else, but I need you all to know what our students are thinking. They wanted longer free time on Fridays. just FYI. They want to be closed all day on Wednesday. They want tough book covers for these Chromebooks because they think it's so important that they keep these Chromebooks safe. They want to get rid of block scheduling. They also want to know how soon and what the process is for getting a new school built. These kiddos are thinkers, they're doers. Just in the way they compose their emails, as I said, some were simple, some were not so simple. But I will tell you, we have the best students anywhere. And guys, you all have touched me beyond measure. I'll hush at that and just thank you all again. Thank you so much. And I will yield to the floor because I feel like my fellow board members have something. I feel it. Janet? All righty. Chris, we'll move on.
Nothing else? So thank you for sharing that, Madam President. The copies of these books that we put before you are yours to go home and read one more time, but make sure you return them to Miss Connie Burns because these will be donated to our elementary libraries on your behalf. All the other amazing student creations, including a dial made by our CTE students that reflect the theme of this year, navigating us to success, which you have definitely done. Thank you for all your hard work and your volunteer time. With that, we conclude this recognition.
Thank you, Liz.
Thank you. And I will say, Aaron, this is one of those things that when you're a new board member, they don't always tell you you have to turn it back in, and then you get real embarrassed a week later when they're like, are you going to bring the book back?
I promised Connie I would make that announcement.
They tell you, but you just tuned it out.
Turn the book back in. I'll get it.
You get so excited, like, this is a great book. I'm going to read it forever.
I found it.
All righty. You ready to move on to the next item, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
All righty. That is going to be our presentation of child safety fee funds from the city of Belton for crossing guards. I will also tell you that not a lot of cities do this, and so we're always appreciative of Belton doing that for BISD.
So I'm staying down here to welcome up Mayor Carpenter and our city manager, Sam Listy of the city of Belton. And they're coming to provide, it's always good when you get checks, right? They're coming to provide a check to Belton ISD. And this has been a long-standing thing. I can tell you this doesn't occur everywhere. And so we're very grateful for our community partnerships with the city of Belton. They are obviously proud supporters of the work in Belton ISD, and we are equally proud of the work in the city of Belton. So thank you, Mayor Carpenter. Sam, welcome.
Thank you, Dr. Smith. Before I give you all the money, I just want to take a minute of personal privilege. As an old tiger, I cannot begin to tell you how much I personally appreciate, and I think I can speak for the entire council and the city staff, what wonderful work that your board and your staff have done during this very difficult school year. I know it's difficult to run a school district in the best of times. I can't imagine the difficulties that y'all have faced this year, but it is appreciated and it is noticed by the public. And thank you very much. The easy part, due to COVID and the Texas governor's ongoing waiver on registration renewals, the overall funds collected this year are slightly less than they have been in the past. But according to government code, we do still get the $1.50 per vehicle. This year we have a grant allocation for BISD for $21,930.18. And we're glad to be able to contribute this small amount to keeping our kids safe. So thank you.
Was he really? Oh, that's great. I didn't know that. You know, as Mayor Carpenter heads back, I did just find out he may have taught some of our board members along the way. How about that? He worked for Belton ISD and was on the school board in the past, right? Well, we appreciate that partnership.
Okay, so presentation of
Yes.
Shanklin Road Loop 121 Development Plan. Next up.
So, Madam President, members of the board, we have Sam here tonight from the city of Belton as well. Is our facilities committee knows well, we have been in the middle of discussing this property, our Shanklin Road property, with the city of Belton since last April. And I joined in February, and Sam and I connected early on, and we've been talking about this property along the way. Sam is here tonight to present some information about preliminary thoughts and designs about that property. In order for us to use that property and other properties to be used in that area, there's infrastructure that needs to go to that area. And so Sam's going to present some initial concepts with you all tonight. This is not an action item for you all to vote on, but along the way, if you have questions or concerns, this is a great opportunity to share them so we know how to continue to proceed moving forward. Sam.
Thanks, Matt. Appreciate it very much. And board members, Madam President, really appreciate the chance to come before you tonight and present this information. It has been a study that's been in process for some time, but I have to just stop for a second and just comment on the events of tonight. Belton and the school district, very, very special place in our hearts, certainly. I know you've just been here a year, but I think you've expressed what a special place this is, and I think we see it in everything that y'all do as a board. We're just so pleased to acknowledge the willingness to lead and to join the board. Really appreciate you for that. Lots of big decisions ahead for the city, for the school district, and I think this exercise is one that helps crystallize that as we look forward. And the opportunity for partnerships are many, and we just want to be sure we take every opportunity to look at those and take advantage of them so that the citizens, the students, the school district, and the city are the beneficiaries of that. So with that, I appreciate the chance to come before you and talk about this a little bit. As Matt says, we have had a chance to visit with the Infrastructure Committee earlier, but we certainly wanted to bring the details of this report to the entire board. Just a couple of preliminary comments. Several factors led us to conduct this in-depth analysis of infrastructure in the vicinity of this site owned by the school district. We've had extensive residential development. I've watched closely as y'all have continued to investigate the demographics reports and seen the growth in the district, BISD being among the continuing growing districts even in the midst of COVID. And so we've watched that very, very closely. There have been 1,100 out of the 1,500 lots in Three Creeks final platted, and so that subdivision is continuing to grow very, very strongly. And we have watched closely as the school district has acquired property in the areas of development, certainly this site, the Hubbard branch site, and the site on 2nd Avenue where the Ag Barn is located. And so we know there are so many important decisions ahead as y'all try to figure out what to do and where to do it. And so the city felt like it was important for us to do some analysis on this site because we see 2 years, 3 years is a very, very short time period in planning and certainly infrastructure planning for these areas. And so we contracted with Turley Associates early this year to analyze infrastructure needs in the vicinity of this location. And we looked at streets, water, sewer, the whole bit basically. And in the last several months, we've had a chance certainly to meet with Matt numerous times, with TxDOT and with the Infrastructure Committee. We've also met with the surrounding property owners in the area who are impacted by the proposals that you'll see tonight. And so with that, I'd like to just start with the presentation if we could and jump in there. Obviously, the entities involved are the city, BISD, and certainly TxDOT, because Loop 121 is an extremely important project that is undergoing planning at this particular point in time. Next slide. The site, I think y'all are all very familiar with it, located just opposite the Justice Center, with Shanklin to the west and Bell County to the east. The proposed use, I know that's been a matter of some discussion in the recent months. Certainly it's unknown, but regardless, whatever occurs here is going to require infrastructure. And the roads in the area are inadequate. Shanklin, certainly the way it intersects with the loop. And The utilities are inadequate, although a lot of planning is going on right now for the utilities. You've heard, I'm sure, about our water and sewer plans along I-35. That's a long way away, but the sewer trunk system that's planned there is designed to accommodate the sewer flow from this location. And so there are no lines immediately to the site, but the system is being designed to accommodate the site. And of course, the demographer reports, we watch those very, very closely. Next slide. So thoroughfare planning is one of the key elements that we've been looking at. Our thoroughfare plan in this area is pretty robust, but it is reflects lots of dashed lines on paper. And so a lot of county roads in the vicinity. The purple area is the area that we're looking at very, very closely for future development. And the roads that we're anticipating needing attention, obviously Loop 121. The first phase of Loop 121 is about to get under construction. That's from 439 Lake Road down to I-14. The second phase of that project, which is from I-14 around to I-35, the right-of-way has been acquired. It's not funded yet, but it's anticipated to come to rate very, very high in the region because of traffic counts. And then the third phase is the phase from I-35 to 436. A little bit less traffic volume out there right now, but with Hubbard taking off, that's going to change over time. We, as a city, have emphasized phase 2 of the loop as our #1 priority in the community. So this phase going by the school district site is something that we are working closely with TxDOT on to ensure they recognize the importance of the project to us. Shanklin Road and Southwest Parkway are also very, very important, as well as Mesquite in this vicinity. So next slide. Again, TxDOT is in the preliminary design phase of this portion, but it will track very similar to the first phase. It will be a 4-lane road, basically 2 lanes on each side, with periodic turn lanes in the construction. The timeline for construction is to be determined. There will be median openings at current Shanklin and at Southwest Parkway. Southwest Parkway, of course, extends north of this location and provides circulation to the subdivisions to the north. Our initial discussion with TxDOT indicates that a signal is possible on Loop 121 at Southwest Parkway. That's obviously where the road evens out and you can achieve a very, very positive 90-degree intersection. And so there's a possibility for that there and could serve this site development quite well. Next slide. These exhibits show some of the surrounding road realignment that have been proposed by the consultant. The leftmost exhibit talks about a realignment of Shanklin as it comes into the loop and tries to achieve, again, a 90-degree intersection. We would not expect this to be a crossing of the loop, but essentially a right turn only as traffic exits the site, basically. So would not expect a signal at that location. And so TxDOT, again, with anticipating full development of this site, would expect some redesign there, and that would require a little bit of right-of-way from the school district property. The other location, the Southwest Parkway location, you can see it projecting southward from the loop and serving the interior side. I'll show you a larger exhibit in a second, bringing traffic into the school site itself. And so again, this is the Shanklin Road alignment, kind of on the west end of the property. The street would be upgraded from the county road to a major collector, and again, not suited for a traffic light. And you can see the recommendations there for the width of pavement that would occur there. Next slide. This is a little bit more detail on the Southwest Parkway alignment. You can see the proposal would be to come down on the east side of the vet clinic with a straight alignment at Loop 121 with the Southwest Parkway that extends to the north, coming down the east side of the property, down to a point to be determined, heading west into the school site. That site's a little bit more flexible in terms of its location. That depends a lot on where the school district might locate facilities internally and is subject to your circulation needs. Depending on if you were to put an elementary school in the southern portion or the northern portion, or whatever facilities might occur here, that would be a result of project planning and site planning. But the circulation concept is a straight line projection of Southwest Parkway to an east-west projection of a road to serve the BISD property. There's also an opportunity for development around that street location, also with possible access into the Expo property as well. Next slide. And here's a little bit better detail of that particular location and how it might affect the school district. Again, the vet clinic is there just to the left of the road, coming down north-south to a point to serve the BISD property located there on the left. Next slide. So certainly some right-of-way needs, as I mentioned before, about a little bit over 1 acre on the Shanklin Road site. For Southwest Parkway, that's not obviously in BISD property, but the east-west extension, wherever that might be, would also be important and would need some right-of-way as well. We'll just have to look at exactly where that works, but we want to acquire enough right-of-way to make the project work well now and in the future for as it might need to be widened. Next slide. Utility planning also pretty robust in this area. As I mentioned, there's no sewer on the site right now, but the trunk line that we're putting on I-35 will accommodate this site. Water is also projected to be extended into the area, and services, obviously, again, dependent on what the school district finally does, but the study is pretty extensive in looking at what it will take to serve typical institutional type uses that the school might locate on this site. Next slide. And obviously, this is what we wanted to kind of get in front of you as you begin your planning. What we've done is, through the consultant, is just given some round figures, basically, to some of the costs of the infrastructure. Shanklin Road, about $1.3 million. Shanklin Road, the local portion, about a little over $500,000. Southwest Parkway extension, about $1 million. The BISD east-west extension, the local road, just under $500,000. And then utilities, about just under $500,000, for a total of just under $4 million. I mean, those are round numbers. It's early. We're not ready to do any projects just yet. And I would call your attention that these numbers do not include any right-of-way acquisition, and that could be significant. Obviously, we're proposing some roads in areas where there's development potential in this particular vicinity, and so we have met with all the property owners in the area that are affected. We've also met with Bell County, the county judge, and representatives looking at what their future plans are. I guess the point I would make is that this is an early planning study. It was important to put some lines on a piece of paper. The lines reflect our thoroughfare plan and our utility master plans. But to a great extent, they depend on what the school district chooses to do and when you plan to do it. You know, when I see demographers talking 2 and 3 years out, then that's certainly important for us, because it certainly takes time for you to plan a facility, for us to, identify and work on utilities. This is another situation where partnerships are important for us to try to figure out how to pay for these things. We obviously don't have $4 million sitting around, and would certainly want to work with the school district as you identify what your needs are, the schedule of your needs, and again, work carefully to try to achieve those together. Very, very important for us to do that. And we've had some very preliminary discussion. We're in the process right now of updating our tax increment reinvestment zone, and that's one avenue. It's a possible approach that we might consider for this item. Obviously, the other possibility is for school district to include funding in your bond issues that you do for whatever facilities you might have out here. But one way or another, we recognize that the partnership aspect of this and want to work closely to achieve a good quality project in a timely manner. I think City of Belton performed and had Wheat Road in place when Chisholm Trail opened, as we committed to you. That was a bond issue of $1 million that we did. And we want to work cooperatively like that to ensure that the facilities are in place for you when they're needed. I also wanted to just pass out for you and just leave for your review. This exhibit is a reflection of what's going on in the immediate vicinity inside the loop. I mentioned 3 creeks, 1,500 homes total, put a lot of pressure on Chisholm Trail and other facilities. 1,100 of 1,500 homes already permitted there. This is the area inside the loop, Connell to the loop and up to I-14. 1,600 permits or plats, subdivision lots have been platted in this location right now. You can see that total at the bottom. And the layouts give you an impression of what is anticipated there. So it's not just 3 creeks. It's a significant amount of development activity that's occurring in this immediate vicinity. And so we want to bring to you the awareness of what's going on. And I know your demographers working with us as well to be sure they're aware of these things that are going on. But again, cooperation, partnership, and just finding a way to make it all work, again, to serve the kids. That's what we're here about. Are there any questions I could answer, Matt?
Thank you, Sam, for that presentation. And I would just remind the board, this is not an action item for us at this time. This is simply just information. So if you all have any questions, now would be a good time. Mr. Taggart.
We're in the process of having a facilities assessment done. I'm going to talk about that a little bit in my report, but when that happens in March, the ramp up for the next 2 years that you said we're going to hit it in 5th gear. So I just want to tell you how much we appreciate y'all seeing this ahead of even that and having this prepared for us. It's going to make the job easier for us.
Good.
I think a lot of people see what goes on north of the river, and there is a ton of stuff going on, and they forget about what's going on.
That's right.
And so we really do appreciate y'all doing this groundwork and getting the lines on the paper. It really does mean a lot to us that y'all have taken the initiative to do this.
Thank you. We appreciate it very much.
Mr. Floor.
Yeah, I mean, I echo the thank you to the city. I mean, in every way. I mean, it's great, absolutely great partners. I think I heard you say one thing about Shanklin Road, right? So like the piece of it that gets upgraded to be the collector. Did I hear right where you said the vision might be that might be a right turn only onto 121?
Yes, coming out. Yeah, we don't, again, with TxDOT's concerns, I mean, just anticipate what kind of use might be there. Connie, could you go back to that, the large blow up, about 2 back, 1 more. There you go. Right. The intersection of a relocated Shanklin and Loop 121 is anticipated, at least at this point, to be a right out, just a one-way movement, basically.
Okay.
And the Southwest Parkway would be the 2-way movement with a break in the median, is kind of what's anticipated.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Mr. Listy, first of all, thank you for coming down and taking the time to come visit with us. We really appreciate that.
Our pleasure.
Looking at this handout that you gave us.
Yes, sir.
Did I hear you correctly and say that there are 1,565? This is for new construction?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And permits already been pulled for all of this?
No, plats, to a great extent, subdivision plats have been approved for all those. So the layout, all the little drawings in there that show the layout show you where the lots would be. Some single family, some duplex, some multifamily, but a variety of residential housing types that total just under 1,600 dwelling units.
Any idea, and you may not know this, but any idea when all of this is going to come to fruition? I mean, is it in the next 3, 4, 5 years?
It's really hard, a little bit hard to say. Certainly market will dictate that, but we have some of the subdivisions already under construction right now. Certainly up at in the northwest corner of this property, it's already some subdivision occurring. So I think we're seeing permits occur right now. This past year, believe it or not, just like the school district growing beyond anybody's expectation in terms of student count, this was the strongest year the city of Belton has ever had in building permits as well. Now, a big part of those were in 3 Creeks, but a lot of them were inside the city limits as well. So very, very strong. Market is very, very strong right now, and we just expect that to continue. I think the development community is recognizing that by laying out these subdivisions and plats and bringing those forward. And, We just expect it to continue to happen. And we'll keep very close with Matt and the demographer in terms of annual building permits so that you have a sense of how fast that's going.
Sam, what is the percentage of build out in Three Creeks at this point?
Well, 1,100 out of 1,500. So that's substantial now. 1,100 have been final platted, probably 900 that have actually been permitted. I don't have an exact count on that, but they're going very, very fast. They're in the 100 to 150 dwelling units a year, just in Three Creeks. And we hit about 350 last year citywide. In totals, 350 minus the 150 or so in Three Creeks. So going very, very strong. Yes, yes, that's underway. Uh-huh. That is partly in and partly out. That's the River Farms development. It has a potential of 1,735 homes, 1,775. So just under 2,000 homes again on the east side of Toll Bridge Road, south of Shanklin. So again, pressure to address that. And again, that'll be very, very popular. Southern part of the community, potential for, Austin, Georgetown, to be attracted to that. So we're in the right spot. We have opportunities, but some challenges too to deal with.
All righty.
Madam President, members of the board, I want to again thank the City of Belton for their support in all of this, and it was them reaching out to us, and I think that shows the good partnership along the way. If we think about the flexibility that we're going to need to meet the demographic study that has been presented to us, we don't know, and Sam has said that, we don't know how we need to use this property. That's going to be a discussion for the board to decide over the next few months here, but it might be for an elementary school, it might be for an elementary school and a middle school, it might be for a high school. That's going to be a determination for you all to make. But in order for us to actually use that and meet some of those timelines along the way, we have to be ahead with the infrastructure. So we thank Sam and the city for being ahead of this conversation and leading us through this and being great partners. And we will continue to work with them hand in hand and share the demographers' reports with you all, just as we have been, and allow our facilities committee and you all as a board to make good decisions moving forward. So.
Thank you, Matt.
Thank you,
President,
appreciate
board
it,
members,
Sam.
thank you all very, very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Madam President, could we recess for a couple of minutes? We're having some tech issues and
Absolutely.
we've lost our presentation ability. If we could recess just for a few minutes,
Absolutely.
we would appreciate it. Provide Jennifer Land to come on up and discuss the CAFR with you all. We have a few things that, just so our public knows, we're making some adjustments along the way. Our presentation ability kind of went out in the middle of this board meeting. So we do have all materials posted online, and the public can look at those materials posted online on Board Book, and our board will be doing the same. And we'll invite Jennifer and her guest up for the CAFR.
Good evening. It is a pleasure to be here, and this time of year has come once again. We have prepared our annual comprehensive annual financial report, which we refer to as a CAFR. And I have here Paula Lau with Patillo, Brown and Hill, who will talk you through it. And you should have a copy of the CAFR on your desk.
Thank you, Jennifer. Good evening. Good evening. It's a pleasure to be here and to talk with you about the comprehensive annual financial report for Belton ISD and provide you with the results of our audit of this particular document as well. Within this report, on page 1, you find our independent auditors report. And basically, what this document says is we have audited the accompanying financial statements in accordance with government auditing standards as well as generally accepted auditing standards. And those standards require that we plan to perform the audit to obtain a reasonable assurance that these financial statements are materially correct. And we were able to render an unmodified opinion, and an unmodified opinion is the highest opinion that can be rendered as well. So it's known as a clean opinion to most individuals. So congratulations for that. Basically, during this audit, what we've done is we interviewed quite a few people, looked at several documents, invoices, bank statements, support to those bank statements, as well as asking outside entities, hey, what do you expect some of these numbers to be within this report as well? So after gathering all of this information and talking to a lot of different individuals, we were able to provide you with these results tonight. So that's great news for everyone. Also as well, towards the end of the report, you'll find what we refer to as the federal awards section of this document. So when an entity does spend more than $750,000 of federal awards, an additional audit is kicked off as well. We are provided with specific guidelines for which programs that we have to look at in a particular fiscal year. We had to look at 3 programs this year. One of them was the special education program, one was Title I, and the other one was some that was from the CARES Act or the COVID-19 funding, which is known as ESSER, to you guys as well. And I'm happy to let you know that we have a clean opinion there as well, so good results. That's definitely a reflection of the group that you do have working here at the district. Throughout the year, they do spend a lot of time trying to make sure that they're gathering a lot of the information and information is getting to the accounting system in order for us to come out and look at things and make sure that things are in line and where they're supposed to be as well. But that's just a kind of an overview of the audit and the results as well. But I do want to point out a couple of things within the CAFR too. Specifically, there's in the introductory section of the report, Roman numeral 9 and 10. There are 2 awards that you see within this report. This is the first time that Belton ISD has received these awards. And basically, 2 separate organizations have certain criteria that this report has to meet in order for the district to get these awards. So congratulations on that as well. But what it does include a lot more information that you see in this CAFR as well, the comprehensive annual report. More towards the back of the report, you see a lot of different trend information. That's a big component of this, and it does increase transparency for the district as well. So if any of you do have questions, or I'm more than happy to answer those as well.
don't have a question, but certainly want to thank you for that report and that information. For as long as I've been here, it's been a good report. It's been an unmodified opinion. And it's just great to know that even that we continue to see that we continue to have the good news when it comes to this particular department. And Jennifer, thank you. You'll have to excuse my bow, sorry. Anyway, thank you, Jennifer, to you and your team and for all the work that you all do to make sure that we do continue to receive this unmodified report. So, anyone else?
Yeah, just again, reading through this it's a lot of numbers, lots of stuff. So, but it's really, none of this work gets done without this is the backbone of all the school districts. But what we do for our kids has to be sustained with this. And it's so neat to be able to take this to the community and say, look what our team does. So I know I say it every year, but we are proud of the team that is in place. And it is overwhelming when you're looking through this, especially if this isn't something you do for a living. But it's just so comforting knowing that we can do what we can for our kids because we're being taken care of with our financial folks, and we appreciate that. And then turning it over to an outside people to take a look at it, that's just the only way to do it. It makes it all right. So I like to process how this goes down every year too.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you. So at this time, we will, the recommendation is to approve the comprehensive annual financial report for the 1920 fiscal year. Is there a motion? I see Mr. Taggart's hand. Is there a second? Mr. Norwood, all in favor, please raise your hand. I'm scooting over. That's unanimous. Thank you so much. Okay, the next action item is budget assumptions for fiscal year 21-22.
As Ms. Land comes to join us again, Board, we are asking you to do something a little different this year than you have in the past. And normally, we have presented budget assumptions to you. What budget assumptions are is they're the initial guidance that we have in developing the budget for the upcoming school year. What we're asking tonight is you to actually take action on those, and there's a reason behind that, is these are the initial parameters for us to develop a good budget that will work for the upcoming school year. And the action just signifies that we all together as an administration and a board of trustees are on the same page as we kick off that budget planning. Why that's really important is because we want to make sure that we're developing the best budget to meet the goals and meet the needs of our community. And that unanimous decision, or the decision for you all to weigh in on this via a vote, helps us have that direction to move forward and create the budget. So tonight, we are asking you to do something different than you have in the past, and Jennifer is going to lead you through the discussion on those budget assumptions.
Thank you. First of all, I do want to just say thank you as a board for the support that you lend to us as a finance department throughout the year. It really makes our job a lot easier knowing that we do have your support. And for that, we are extremely grateful in the Business Services Department, so thank you. And as I stand here to present these budget assumptions, and I almost said next slide, but you do have it in your packet. Some old habits die hard, right? We want to make sure, as Dr. Smith said, that you have an opportunity to see the initial parameters for which we will base the 21-22 fiscal year budget. He also mentioned this is a new process. It's not only new to you all, but it's new to us as well. It's new to me, our community, and I think it is absolutely wonderful to be able to stand here and go through these parameters with you. So one of the things that I want to point out on the slide that says historical budget assumptions is that, this is simply a historical picture of the assumptions that we use in the initial budget process. This is the assumption compared to where we end up once we bring that final budget to you all for approval in February. Just briefly want to point out that, as you can see, one of the biggest changes between the initial assumptions and the final budget assumptions is the tax-based growth. We start out with that 6% typically based on historical projections. We realize that the past 2 years have been anomaly years due to the change in valuation practices at the appraisal district, but we are really comfortable with staying at that 6% mark because prior to those 2 anomaly years, we ranged anywhere from about 6% to 8%. So the 6% mark is what we're comfortable with starting at. And as you see, once we get the preliminary values in April, and then again, the final certified values in July, that parameter changes. There are other parameters that also change as well, such as enrollment. Our initial parameters are usually based on the fall report. And by the time we provide or develop the full budget for your approval, we've gotten those spring projections, and we make sure we factor in the spring projections. And then also the salary increase percentage, that's something that you as a board will decide on once we bring you those scenarios. Mr. Schiller and his team does a really good job with that. But again, we want to start out at a certain percentage so that we can make sure we've included that at least some measure of a compensation increase in our initial parameters. And again, these assumptions will change as we work through that budget process. So if you turn to that next page with the actual 21-22 budget assumptions, I will go through them. On the student enrollment side, this is the demographer's growth projection based on the fall report, full amount of the growth this year. I know last year we tweaked some things based on what we did not know would happen with the COVID impact, but we are comfortable with moving forward with the full demographer's projection in these assumptions. And right now, the fall report showed us at about a little over 13,200 students. On our average daily attendance rate, this percentage is not the actual attendance rate. The assumption that we use, this 93%, is based on the percent of enrollment at snapshot and where we end the year. So what I do is there is a historical look that I take at what our snapshot enrollment was and where we ended the year with our ADA for funding purposes, and I compare the two. And history shows that it's been hovering right around the 93% mark, give or take 0.5%. So that's where that 93% comes in. Again, it is not attendance rate. With the property value projected growth of 6%, I think I already explained that that's a number that we are fairly comfortable with using for the preliminary projections. The staff pay increase, again, 2%. That number is, again, something that we definitely want to make sure that we include something for increased compensation, but that is subject to change based on scenarios and your approval at a later time. On the other compensation increases, the new positions due to growth, these are positions based on our staffing guidelines. And as a fast growth district, this $2.7 million is a number that is, again, based on the fall demographics report. And this is a number that HR and Mr. Schiller works to calculate for us. Again, it will most likely change once we get those spring projections and if enrollment changes. On the other position requests, this is in addition to the staffing guidelines. This is where we will take requests from campuses and/or departments based on instructional needs or their operation needs in their areas. We realize that there are unique circumstances at each campus, and in order to obtain the differentiation that we need and make sure that that each campus is successful, we need to be able to identify their needs individually. So that's where this line item comes into play. And that $500,000 is an estimate based on historical amounts. Again, it's subject to change. It does vary from year to year based on those requests. And the market adjustments, this is, I guess, a new look at the market adjustments. Typically, we have not broken them out in this fashion, especially not during the assumptions, but that $100,000 placeholder is there because we do a survey annually with TASB, and based on those results, we will adjust either positions, categories, as needed. The campus allocations, we use a per pupil allocation with a small base allotment for the campuses, and that's based on the demographer's projections. Right now, that's about 1.6 million, but that number will change once we get those projections from the demographer. The capital project set aside, this is a different take on a fund that we had, I guess, started building this past year, but this is, the amount here has TBD, simply because we are still in the process of our facilities assessment, and we want to make sure that when we complete that assessment, we do the due diligence necessary to fulfill the needs that come across from that report. So that's why we have dedicated a line item for the capital projects needs. And we will
Jennifer, if I
continue
could
to
interject
evaluate.
real quick right there. Board, just real quickly, just so you know on this one, when we get that facilities assessment back, we should be able to break that down into 3 groups. Those groups, like when you get that report back, you might be able to see these items might have to be addressed in bond. They're big items and they might have to be addressed in a future bond that BISD might need to consider. Then we have the regular maintenance items that might be taken care of in a regular maintenance budget. What Jennifer is asking that line to be is kind of the middle of the road items, the ones that are a little bit bigger than you would include in a department budget, but are necessary for us to invest in our facilities over the year. This allows us to set aside some money to make sure that those things are addressed and not just kicking the can down the road and waiting until another bond. But also, I just want to assure you that it's not going to be everything that is listed in that facilities assessment report. It's kind of breaking those things down into 3 categories and budgeting for the ones that we feel like we could chunk off in a reasonable way with a budget for the upcoming year.
Thank you. It's about developing a thoughtful plan to address those needs. And then with the new programs, this is definitely a parameter that is different or unique and new this year. This is to address any startup cost for new programs. Now, I know the question may be, well, how much is $100,000 going to get us? This amount is here as, for lack of a better word, as a placeholder, so that we can ensure that we've set aside some amount of funds to evaluate the needs that we may have for new programs. And it may not be that the new program is implemented in 1 year. So it may just be that we're taking baby steps toward implementing new programs. And this is a set aside to make sure we do have some dollars in our back pocket in case we need them for that reason. And with the campus improvement, this is also something that is new, and we have segregated it this year so that you and our community can see what we are planning for. This is for campus instructional improvement. I like to think of it as maybe some innovation ideas that come across, but this is dollars to help campuses excel above and beyond what we have already included in their budget. So these monies would be used on a case-by-case basis after campuses have expressed their ideas towards some improvement efforts. On employee benefits, we are currently at that $400 per month contribution toward employee benefits. If you recall, 2 years ago, we increased that. We increased from $375 to $400, and we always leave this as a line item on the parameters simply because it is another means of compensation for our employees. That really goes a very long way. And then our tax rate. These are the tax rates for our current year. We start our initial parameters with our current year tax rate because we don't know at this point where we would end up with we may end up with our tax rate. House Bill 3 with the M&O rate will cause some compression. And so basically that means that our M&O tax rate will be reduced. We don't necessarily know what that amount will be. We have to wait for TEA to tell us what that amount will be. If you recall with House Bill 3, we basically lost control over our M&O tax rate. And now TEA sets that tax rate for us or gives us guidance to setting that tax rate. However, any reduction in our M&O tax rate is offset with the applicable increase in state funding. Unlike our INS rate. Our INS rate is currently at this 39.68, and we have held that tax rate for the last couple of years simply because as a fast growth district, we are trying to increase or maintain a certain level for our debt capacity for when we go out for a bond. It is extremely important to us to be able to implement or to pass a bond that meets the needs, and one of the ways to do that is to make sure that we have enough debt free that we can get the biggest bang for our buck in terms of going out for that bond and setting the amount that we will move forward and ask our voters to approve. So with the INS rate though, you as a board have control over that rate. However, if there are changes in the rate, if we lower that rate, TEA does not give us a corresponding increase in state aid. So we have these assumptions with holding the INS tax rate as it is currently. And we will continue to assess that based on property values, based on changes in the economy, and we will see where we are. I do want to mention, though, that as of the end of December, we had not really seen a big impact on our tax collections due to COVID. We are really tracking along at a steady rate compared to prior years, and we are still confident that as a rooftop district, we should not see a huge impact for the remainder of this year. Future years, though, might look a little different depending on the COVID impact and stimulus. Any questions on these parameters? Because I'm here to ask you to approve them. However, you have if there's a parameter that you want to discuss, if there is a parameter that you feel needs to be changed, then we can certainly do that. But these parameters serve as the basis for the preliminary budget estimate. So if there is something on here that you really would like for us to consider differently, please let me know. We can discuss it.
Board, is there any discussion or questions about these initial assumptions? Mr. Alcázar.
Jennifer, what did you say that the TEA took away from us? Your ability to do what?
To maintain
when
our...
you're talking about the compression?
Yes.
Yeah. You said TEA will release that at some point?
TEA now calculates our M&O tax rate for
Right.
us.
And I don't know if this has ever been discussed, but is there a deadline whenever they have to come up with that?
Yes, the deadline is in August. I don't know the exact date.
Okay,
but
so it's
it is in
fiscal year
August.
August? And that's
Sorry.
it's always in August?
It was in August this past year, and this past year was the first year.
Okay. All
It
right.
will always be, moving forward, it should always be in August.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions, Mr. Flora?
I mean, I think these assumptions are great. I mean, thank you so much for all the work that goes into this. I know we ask a lot, and, you all always do a great job, kind of making sure that we're kept abreast of what's going on. I think the only question I'll throw out there is just, we knew that there was a big salary jump coming, right? So like the 2.7 million placeholder on there, right? We knew that was coming, especially as we build out Lake Belton, right? We've got an additional class and have to hire additional folks in there. And so of that 2.7 million, about how much is related to that particular line item, right? So blowing up Lake Belton.
So of that 2.7 million, it's about 2 million associated with Lake Belton High School, but there is a decrease also from Belton High School of a little over 600,000. Correct me if I'm wrong, Todd. Oh, please, come on.
That's pretty much it. It's about 30 teachers at Lake Belton High School this next go around for a little bit over 1.5 million.
Yeah.
And there's about obviously some more staff is going to be moving from Belton High School because the enrollment's going to decrease, and we're projecting about 10 teaching staff to be moving across to Lake Belton High School.
Okay. No, that's more out of curiosity. I mean, I think this is in line with kind of what we've been thinking about in the past. So, yeah, thank you.
Okay, if there are, is that all, Jennifer?
Yes.
Anybody else have any other questions? Okay, the recommendation before us is to approve the initial assumption as presented. Is there a motion to approve? I can't see it. Mr. Taggart, is there a second? Manuel, thank you. All in favor, please raise your hand. We good? Okay, that passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item is the ISD Journey of Graduate.
Dr. Golden, whoops, there we go. As Dr. Golden comes on up, I want to thank our board for your participation in the Journey of a Graduate development. As you know, when we talked about a year ago, we talked about this notion and the idea of setting direction for Belton ISD and really focusing in on kids and the journey that we want them to take in our school district. And so Dr. Golden's going to present the results of that process.
Awesome. I'm excited to be here this evening to talk about Journey of a Graduate. As you know, Goal 1 is to engage the community in setting direction for the future of Belton ISD. And the key progress measure that you adopted is that a new vision, mission, and Journey of a Grad would be created with community voice by June of 2021. And so the purpose of tonight is to update you and discuss the development process that we went through, discuss the learner competencies that came out of this process, and to seek hopefully your approval for the Journey of a Graduate. And so wanted to begin with why talk about Journey of a Graduate again? And just to remind us, we know that the State Board of Education identifies the TEKS, right? Those are our state standards, our Texas Essential Knowledge and Skills. But we also recognize that academic knowledge, while vitally important that students know and be able to do the academic work in each of their content areas, we also understand that there are other competencies that our students need to have and we need to grow as a system. This evening has been a great example. We've had to adapt and persevere through some technical issues, and our students they were brave and came and sang in front of us, and you talked about the competencies you hope for the adults who work in our schools. And so we believe that the way in which we design work, the way in which we design classwork around biology, for example, I'm a former science teacher. I had to teach the difference between an animal cell and a plant cell. The way I do that could be in a way that really grows competencies in students that they're going to need way beyond just the biology content that I'm teaching. And so we're super excited because we believe the coming together of both competencies that we're going to talk about in a few minutes, as well as our academic standards, that really leads to not only deep learning, but also to success beyond graduation. So we're excited and wanted to share with you a little bit of the development process, which many of you participated in. It broke down into 4 pieces: plan, activate, create, and adopt. In our planning phase, as you know, we worked with a facilitator, Colin Lewis from Battelle for Kids, and just have to do a shout out and a thank you to him for his facilitation skills. He led us through 4 design team meetings. Our design teams were made up of community members, parents, teachers, staff, administrators, as well as students. And I can tell you, student voice was powerful for those who are able to either watch the videos or participate out of the mouths of our kids, right? If we listen to them. They gave us great feedback. And so we brought those groups together, started with looking at we talked about landscape shifts. What are some shifts in the workforce that our students have to be ready for? The pace of change is so rapid today. What are the implications of that for their learning? And so we did that and then started with hopes and dreams. If our kids are to be ready for that, if our students are to be ready as they go through our pre-K through 12th grade experience and beyond, then what are our hopes, dreams, and aspirations for our students so that they are ready? So our design team went through that process, gave us their hopes, dreams, and aspirations for students, but then we also sought the input of the broader community, because not everybody could participate in a design team. So through the thought exchange, we were able to get hopes, dreams, and aspirations from our community. And what was exciting is it mirrored what our design team told us. And so it told us that our design team was representative of our community. And through that data, they then went through a process of identifying what are the competencies then that are most important. They talked about it in small groups, and then they identified them individually and ranked them. And so you, in your slides, you see just some samples of some of the hopes and dreams that contributed to the development of the competencies. Just pulling out a little bit, people said they want communicators, they want problem solvers, they want students to grow in empathy and their ability to empathize. Those were just some of the hopes and dreams that came out of not only design team, but also thought exchange. And so there are 6 competencies that rose to the top from all of this work. I had to write an acronym for myself. It's called PACE. A good friend of mine, Elizabeth, helped me with that, PAC to the 3rd E. But that helps me remember. I bet y'all remember that moving forward, right? Perseverance, adaptability, critical thinking, collaboration, communication, and empathy were the competencies that rose to the top through our design team work. And so on your next slide, I hope you're seeing those competencies and the definitions, because what the design team also did is they crafted the definitions. They went into small groups and talked about, okay, what does adaptability, for example, mean to us in Belton ISD? And so captured in our graphic is are all of the competencies that, again, the design team prioritized. And so with that, I was going to see if you had any questions, and also want to thank our design team. Your last slide is just a screenshot. All of these meetings happen virtually. And so I love this screenshot because we have a couple of students on there. And I was just really blown away, and have to say again how our students used their voice. They weren't shy. They spoke up and they contributed to the development of this. And they're excited about what this can mean for their own learning and the future of all students for Belton. And so with that, I'll see if you have any questions. Right.
Yeah, I'll make a little statement. You know, one of the things I said to Matt in the beginning of this is sometimes when you start something like this, it can seem really theoretical and above and overarching, where you can't really get a grasp of it. But the kids, man, they come right down into the nuts and bolts. They know what they want, and I think that helps in some ways direct the conversation to something more concrete. And thank you for all of this, because you have to funnel down all this information into something practical, and I know you will.
Awesome. Thank you.
Board, I just want to thank you for that. That right there, while it has been a rather short presentation, is a real critical step for us for the future. That impacts facility work, that impacts curricular work, that impacts hiring practices. It impacts everything that we do in the school district. So thank you for engaging in that opportunity and setting direction for the future. We appreciate it.
Okay, next item is our 21-22 academic calendar.
Okay, that's me again.
Awesome.
Okay, goal 5, is to maximize use of resources for current and future needs in Belton. And the academic calendar is a resource. That is what helps allocate time not only for our student learning, but also for adult learning. And so the purpose of this presentation is to give you an update on the design process and also make a recommendation for the 2021-2022 school calendar. The next slide is really just high level of process. We did a couple things a little different this year. We did start out with our DWIC committee, and just as a reminder, that's our district-wide education improvement committee. That committee is made up of teachers from each campus. It also has business and community member representation, as well as district representation and administrator representation. So we started out with that committee, and we shared what we called calendar parameters. We created a document that helped our DWIC understand that there are certain parameters in developing an academic calendar. Some are legislatively mandated, like we are required to have a minimum of 75,600 minutes built into a calendar. We have an 187-day teacher calendar. We are legislatively prohibited from having school on Memorial Day, ending school prior to May 15th. So there are some legislative parameters we needed to work within. So we took a look at that, and then we went out and gathered input through a thought exchange. So we asked for what are the things people value in the calendar, as well as asked a question around professional learning. And from that input, we were able to, one, we know that Thanksgiving break, winter break, and spring break, very much on a lot of people's minds. Those were some of the top thoughts that came out of that thought exchange, as well as supporting teachers in planning time and professional learning. So we developed 2 calendar options, and we went out, we switched from input into gathering some feedback from DWIC. So our teachers and our community members represented on DWIC gave us some feedback on those 2 calendar options. One in particular, so we were able to make some tweaks, and then those calendars went out to every campus. We asked our campuses to take a look at those calendar options and give us feedback on those. Based on that feedback, that informed the recommendation that we're making here this evening, and in front of you, hopefully you have the calendar that we are recommending for the 2021-2022 school year.
Any questions or comments about that? Is there a motion to approve as presented? Thank you, Mr. Smith. Thank you, Dr. Smith, for being my eyes. It's heck being short. Okay, there is a second by Mr. Fleur. All in favor, please raise your hand. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Alden.
Thank you.
Appreciate you. And I'm going to remember PAC to third power and E. Yep, and then he got it. All right, the next action item, or the next item is the set trustee election in Area 2 and Area 4 for Saturday, May 1st. In accordance with Election Code 41.001 and Board Policy BBB Local, the board must approve an order of election and set the election date by the 78th day before Election Day, which is February 12th. Election Day is Saturday, excuse me, Election Day is Saturday, May 1. Trustees for Areas 2 and 4 that expire this year. Current trustees are Erin Bass. For Area 2, we know she just got here. She was appointed to fill the unexpired term. However, she intends, based on our conversation earlier, to file for that particular area. And Chris, as I understand, has already filed for Area 4. The following dates for the general election are Wednesday, January 13th through Friday, February the 12th by 5 p.m. Early voting will be conducted Monday, April the 19th through Tuesday, April 27th. Is there any questions or comments about that?
Recommendation is to set the election and approve the order of election. Is there a motion to approve? Mr. Norwood, is there a second? Mr. Alcozer, all in favor, please raise your hand. That passes. Thank you all. All righty. We're moving along. Next item on the agenda, we get into our reports. Facilities Committee report, Mr. Taggart.
Okay, I'm going to go quick. So we had our facilities meeting, I guess it was last Wednesday, had some reports. The first report that the first thing that we had presented to us was from Mike Morgan, and the policy committee has been working on the naming of facilities procedures, and we kind of drilled down on what the facilities committee's role is going to be in this. They've also really, they've gone to other districts and looked at how other people do it to kind of come up with a comprehensive plan as to get some ideas as to how we want to do it. So we're kind of getting to that final step, and I think the reading is coming up this next time. So we're moving forward on that. So that's kind of was a big part of the meeting. Anybody have any questions on that? Okay, then we were updated on current projects. Y'all know me and my list. It was 7 or 8 pages long. It's a page, basically. We have gotten so much work done. We're coming in about $840-something thousand under budget, and that money's going to, hopefully, we're kind of holding it back a little bit in case we need to do some stuff COVID-related, keeping that. But I just can't tell. David, he's not here. Mike, everybody that's involved in getting these projects done. Y'all know. Y'all have heard me say it, but I can't say enough how much we appreciate it. And we're waiting on, part of those projects, real quick, the swim center membrane, we're getting it done, and we can do it while the kids are still swimming, which is awesome because we got so many people in and out of that facility. Another thing that was being talked about for probably a whole decade before we even got on the board, I even got on the board 4 years ago, was the tennis court expansion. It's getting done. That project will be probably getting done this summer. Along with that, at the same time, we're going to combine the sidewalks and the drainage issues with softball. That's all going to be done this summer. The bleacher expansion, because steel is kind of hard to come by right now, sturdy steel, that stuff will get done. Won't get done for the baseball, softball, but it'll get done this summer. And the facilities assessment, we're going to have it in March. So we're a lot of good progress on those things. And we're just about done with our list on Lake Belton High School. Just a few little things. Most of it's just training with the PAC and some different things like that. So that's moving forward. And then we're just waiting on the facilities assessment update. I can't wait. So it's going to be fun.
Awesome. Thank you. All righty. Policy Committee report.
Yes, ma'am. We did not have a January meeting. Our next meeting is February 1, 2021. So I don't have anything to report. I will next time.
Awesome, thank you. And before we go to Superintendent's report, Aaron, you and I have talked about this a little bit, but we would like to get you plugged into one of these committees. We have quite a few folks of our board members on facility, so it may be policy, but we'll get into that at a different meeting. That being said, we'll move on to superintendents.
Madam President, members of the board, I think this presentation should only take about 45 minutes tonight. And no, I'll have an abbreviated presentation since it is School Board Recognition Month.
Let's ask Summer how she feels.
Yeah, my daughter might agree with you all and want to get out of here as well. A couple of things, I'll point out a few highlights. This goes to Jennifer's presentation as well. We'll start with numbers. For our demographer presentation in the fall, we are projected to be about 13,200 students, something like that. We feel comfortable with that because we've added over 80 students since our last board meeting. And so I share that with you because we are growing in Belton ISD, and we will continue to plan to grow. But I share that with you because when you put that number out there and you say, oh, wow, we got more than 80 new students and additional students in our system since that last board meeting, that's an eye-opener for y'all and for me especially. We continue to do good work around that. 77% of our students are at-school learners right now, and 23% are at-home learners. We're very proud of the work that's been done to provide families an option during this pandemic, and we're thankful to have that option because our business is educating kids, and we're going to keep doing it whether they're face-to-face or virtual. Highlights from the last month, obviously, is the continued growth that we talked about just a minute ago, but I have to say one of the highlights was doing some board member visits, and we have some more coming up in the next week here, and taking you all out to see your work as trustees and how that comes to fruition on campuses has really been a highlight of mine this month too, because I know sometimes in my role as superintendent, I wonder how what I do on a daily basis impacts kids. I imagine that's the same feeling that you all feel in coming to board meetings. But what I hope you felt when you walked into those classrooms, and that you will see when you walk into those classrooms on upcoming visits, school is going on. While we may have masks on in the classroom, kids are doing great learning and teachers are doing exceptional work. And I couldn't be more proud of that and thankful for your efforts that have made that possible in our classrooms. As we continue to move forward, we're working to plan for adaptability and agility. As you all know, I was very concerned about numbers in Bell County as we entered that winter break. I'm proud to say that we have continued to be able to remain open. Our staff has been immensely gracious in covering classes and allowing us to keep these buildings open for our kids. And it does look like our Bell County numbers are starting to dip down a little bit, which is a hopeful sign for us moving forward into the spring. We hope that with a continued decrease in numbers and an increase in vaccinations, that we will continue to be able to strive toward normal as we end our school year. I will say this also is a little bit of a teaser. We do intend to start to engage our community, specifically some parents, in some discussion about spring events. As you know, the spring semester is full of big things like prom and graduation. And those are big events for kids. And as we get into planning for graduation, we're going to ask our parents, and specifically our senior parents, what they hope to see out of graduation coming up, knowing that we might have to be flexible and adaptable just as we were last year. I think we all learned along the way that the graduation ceremony last year, while it was vastly different from what we'd ever experienced, there was a whole lot of good that happened last year on that graduation field. And so we're going to ask our parents about what they really want and hope out of a graduation ceremony coming up, and we'll start working with our principals and planning for that. I included some pictures there that obviously y'all can't see, so you can peruse those as you want. As you all know, we remain in scenario 3, and it's our intent to remain in scenario 3. And as I said, we are hopeful for those those case numbers to continue to go down. I'll also share one thing with you. Our mitigation strategies are important, and I say this every month, but we do know that wearing masks in groups is really important for everyone. So please, as you continue to see our community members, even though we're all fatigued, please ask them to continue to help us with those mitigation strategies, because we want to keep kids in school and teachers in the classrooms. One last note on that is I do know that as we've progressed through the year, that we have assured our community that we are deep cleaning our facilities, and I want you to know as a board that our facilities department also and our custodial department has taken a look to do a quality check on our deep cleaning practices, and we do feel pretty good about where we are right now. We will continue to work in areas that we need to clean up more, but we are very proud of the work that they've been doing, and thankful to Mike and his team for doing a little quality check mid-year on those cleaning processes. The March 17th, 2020 resolution, y'all gave me some authority to do a few things that wouldn't normally be in the superintendent's purview, and that was due to the pandemic. And so I'm going to invite Jennifer and Todd, if you have anything to share on those resolution items, if you would share with our board at this time.
Thank you. So last month we told you that we ordered 200 computers with Acer. We've got 170 of those in today. And so we are unboxing those and preparing those for distribution to the campuses. In addition to that, what we've learned since the last meeting is that they've extended the reimbursement program from TEA to the end of February. So we have ordered an additional 400 computers for student computers, helps with the enrollment increase that we've been talking about, and some staff computers as well. We ordered the staff computers underneath that March resolution. in order to get the order in enough time to get the reimbursement, so we can get these computers and devices in the house before the end of February. So it's going to save us about $500,000 with the reimbursement from TEA. So.
Great. Ms. Land, anything from you? Wonderful. And board, I'm under my 45 minutes. That concludes the superintendent's report this month.
Does the board have any questions or comments for Dr. Smith?
I have a quick question. On our attestation to end online learning for certain students, I'm curious how that's going, if principals are reporting that they're getting overwhelmed, if we have anything like that.
You know, I'll invite Dr. Golden up if she'd like to say anything on that one. It's my understanding that the answer to that is no right now. What we wanted to put in place with that attestation on at-home learning was that we had a process in place that we would go through before we got to TEA's process. That means certain steps along the way that we would make sure that we engaged in. And at this time, I do not believe that we have an overwhelming push for ending at-home learning at this time.
Well, and I just appreciate Gabby and Arturo for being on campuses a minimum of 80% of their time, and they both motioned to me that they've had 0 at both elementary and secondary level. That doesn't mean students aren't coming back through conversation with teachers, but through that formal process, we have not had any.
Thank you, Dr. Rosen. Mr. Floor, I believe I saw your hand.
Yeah, I just had a question around the reimbursement activity for the Chromebooks, right? So are we definitely getting reimbursed, or is it still a question at this point?
Todd and Jennifer are both making their way up. I think that's a bad sign right there. I don't know.
You want to take it? Well, I asked because I think last time we talked about it, it was still potentially up in the air, so.
Great question, and the one thing that TEA has told us is that right now, they are anticipating that we will be reimbursed 75%.
75%.
That
okay.
percentage is subject to change based on the amount of stimulus funds and the amount of reimbursement requests. But hopefully, it can go up and not down.
Yeah.
But last word from TEA is 75%. Oh, and the devices have to be ordered by January 31st and received by February 28th, because we have to submit our application.
Yeah. Yeah, so, right, I mean, whether we get reimbursed or not doesn't necessarily matter, right? But we've spent a ton of money, right? And I would love to see at some point us have a discussion on, like, how did that go? Like, was that the right decision? Do we need to do something differently to take better advantage of that? Yeah.
I think that's a really good point. So in purchasing these devices, we have enabled, if you think about the flexibility that we've had to have with kids in their learning environment this year, we've been able to guarantee if a student is in close contact and has to remain home, they have a device that they can actually continue their learning on, and we've been able to guarantee that for every student in our school system, which is great. As far as how well it's worked, we are evaluating specific devices and comparing that with some other devices. So some of these that we've ordered are going to be a little bit different than the Chromebooks we've had in the past. And we're going to do a comparison between the two and see, is this device meeting our needs moving forward? And then we'll be able to make those adjustments as we continue. So I think that's a great point. Yes, we're seeing how that looks. I will say, regarding regular classroom instruction, it was a lot for teachers to learn. And basically they were given, hey, you got this class in front of you, and all of a sudden they got all these devices, and now what do we do with it? And we've done a good job supporting them along the way, but that learning process will continue to evolve over the next couple of years, as Deanna has talked about earlier tonight in this professional learning system. We intend to use that technology in better ways moving forward, and we'll learn from what we did this year. So we'll evaluate the device itself, the learning that needs to be done for our teachers, and the effective student use.
Awesome. Thank you. Anyone else? We're all done?
All done. Thank you all.
Thank you for that report that didn't take 45 minutes. Greatly appreciate that. The next item on our agenda is the consent agenda. Does the board wish to have any item pulled for discussion? If not, is there a motion to approve? Mr. Taggart, is there a second? Mr. Norwood, all in favor, please raise your hand. That passes unanimously. Next item, board request for new information and/or reports.
Anyone on the board have any information or requests at this time for further information? Nope.
Sue,
Suzanne.
sorry. I don't know why I can't get this thing down.
Suzanne.
I don't really, wow. I'm just going to shut up.
I'm sorry, you were speaking.
What I wanted to say was none of us do what we do for any type of thanks. And I think in my 4 years of doing this tonight was easily the most we've had, and so it's appreciated by us. But to be a part of the team, these guys, and being out in the community, I love bragging on these folks. And I think the graduation last year, when we hired you, we didn't really know what we got. We were hoping. We didn't know. We had a good feeling. But when you went to the community and you went to everybody and asked and then listened, and then you guys put all this to work, and y'all put that graduation together, that's when the seven of us, that's when we knew that we had something special moving forward. So that makes all this work easy to me. And I want to tell y'all how much I enjoy working with you guys. It does mean a lot, so.
Thank you. That's appreciated.
I appreciate that.
Sorry about the other thing, though.
Okay. Our calendar of events, you all have probably been provided with a copy, but I will point out a couple of things. We've got a policy committee meeting on February 1st. Then there's a facility assessment update on Zoom on February 3rd. And then, of course, our musical, the Freaky Friday, BHS and PAC. There's some times listed here. I'm sure you all will find them on the website, and also you all have been provided a copy with the dates and time. And then we've got Monday, February the 8th at 7 a.m. by invitation with Republican Hugh Shine, and that's a Zoom meeting. And then we've got a special board meeting February the 8th in the Big Red Room at 5. And our next regular board meeting is here February the 15th. Yes, ma'am.
Do we want to send a policy meeting invite to Aaron, or have we already done this?
So that has not been, go ahead, Dr. Smith.
Yeah, we would probably need to take official action on Aaron joining the committee because we took
Right.
official action in December on the committee. So we'll put that on the board agenda coming up at your pleasure for, we could do it February, what is it, 8th, even at the special board meeting if
Yep.
we needed to.
It's got all those cool people on it. Anything else? Thank you all for a fabulous job. This has been probably one of the best meetings that I've been involved in since 2013. So thank you all for allowing me to sit up here and share memories and just listen to you all share some great information about what our kiddos and staff are doing in this district. And, you know, I have to agree, you know, we didn't know what we had, but man, did we luck out. We're so cool. Anyway, that being said, nothing else, we stand adjourned at 8:09. Y'all have a great evening.